One simple hug from a stranger changed a little girl's world and taught her billionaire father the true meaning of love. Ethan Cole was one of those men everyone in the city knew about. His face often appeared in newspapers and magazines. Known as a billionaire who built a business empire with his smart mind and cold heart, he lived in a giant house, drove expensive cars, and made decisions that affected thousands of people. But behind that image, Ethan was a man broken by one deep wound, the loss of his wife, Anna. She had been the warmth in his world, the laughter in his cold mansion, and the love that made him human. When she passed away after a long illness, Ethan didn't cry in public. He buried his feelings under piles of work. He became busier than ever, trying to fill the silence she left behind. But what he didn't realize was that the person suffering the most wasn't him, it was his little daughter, Lily. Lily was only 6 years old, a sweet and gentle girl with curly hair and big brown eyes. She looked a lot like her mother, especially when she smiled. But lately, her smiles had disappeared. She missed her mom every single day. She had stopped talking much, didn't want to go to school, preferred to stay quiet with her teddy bear, the one her mother had given her before she died. Ethan tried to give her everything, a big room filled with toys, expensive clothes, and even a puppy, but nothing worked. Lily didn't need new things. She needed love. She needed comfort. But Ethan didn't know how to give it anymore. He thought buying things would make her feel better. He didn't understand that what she wanted most was time and warmth. One cold afternoon, Ethan decided to take Lily out for lunch. He was in between meetings and didn't have time to go home. His driver parked outside a small diner, the kind of place he usually never entered. It wasn't fancy or famous, it was simple, with checkered floors and the smell of freshly baked pie. But Ethan noticed Lily looking out the car window at it, so he decided to stop there. "We'll eat here," he said softly. Lily nodded quietly, still hugging her teddy bear tightly. The diner was warm inside, full of laughter and the sound of clinking plates. People were chatting, smiling, and enjoying their food. Ethan felt out of place in his expensive suit, but Lily seemed curious, her eyes scanning the colorful walls decorated with pictures and old signs. A young waitress approached their table with a bright smile. Her name tag read Emma. She looked to be in her 20s, with kind eyes and a cheerful voice. "Good afternoon. What can I get for you?" she asked. Lily looked up shyly, but didn't answer. Ethan ordered for both of them a sandwich for himself and pancakes for Lily. As Emma left, Ethan went back to checking his phone. He was answering emails and making notes for a business meeting later that day. Lily sat quietly, drawing shapes on the napkin with her finger. When Emma returned with the food, she noticed how quiet the little girl was. She smiled and crouched down beside her. "Those pancakes look yummy, huh?" she said kindly. Lily nodded but didn't smile. Emma tried again. "Do you like strawberries? I can bring extra if you want." Lily looked at her for a moment and whispered, "My mommy used to put strawberries on my pancakes." The words hit Ethan like a knife. He froze. For a second, he didn't know what to say. He just lowered his head and stared at his plate. Emma looked at Lily softly and said, "That sounds so sweet. Your mommy must have been wonderful." Lily nodded, tears forming in her little eyes. Then she looked up and asked in a trembling voice, "Can I have mommy back?" The whole diner seemed to go silent. Ethan felt his chest tighten. He wanted to say something, to explain that her mother was gone forever, but the words wouldn't come out. Emma looked at Lily with deep compassion. Without thinking twice, she gently knelt beside her and wrapped her arms around the child. "Oh, sweetheart," she whispered, "I'm sure your mommy is watching you right now. She must be so proud of you." Lily pressed her face into Emma's shoulder and cried softly. It was a quiet, innocent cry, the kind that comes straight from a child's broken heart. Ethan sat there, speechless. He didn't move, didn't look at his phone, didn't even blink. He just watched this young waitress comforting his daughter, the same daughter he hadn't known how to hold for months. It was such a simple hug, but to Ethan, it looked like something powerful. Something money could never buy. When Lily calmed down, Emma gently wiped her tears and said, "Would you like some extra whipped cream on your pancakes?" Lily sniffled and nodded. a small smile finally appearing on her face. Emma smiled back and said, "There we go. Smiles look good on you." She went to the counter, made a funny face at Lily while adding whipped cream, and returned with the plate. For the first time in a long while, Lily giggled a small, sweet sound that filled Ethan's heart with warmth and pain at the same time. He couldn't stop looking at Emma. She wasn't trying to impress anyone. She didn't know who he was or how rich he might be. She was just being kind, purely and naturally. Ethan realized that, in all his power and money, he had forgotten what simple kindness looked like. He had spent months trying to hide pain instead of healing it, as they finished their meal. Lily told Emma stories about her teddy bear and how her mom used to tell bedtime stories. Emma listened carefully, laughing at Lily's innocent words. When it was time to leave, Ethan stood up, pulled out his wallet, and left a big tip on the table. But when Emma saw it, she shook her head. "You don't need to do that, sir." "I'm just happy she smiled today," she said softly. Ethan looked at her, unsure how to respond. For a man who was used to buying everything, those words were strange but meaningful. He nodded slightly and said, "Thank you for being kind." Emma smiled. "We all need kindness sometimes." When they walked out of the diner, Ethan held Lily's hand. She looked happier, lighter. He noticed she was humming a song her mother used to sing, for the first time in many months. Ethan didn't feel completely empty. He looked up at the cloudy sky and took a deep breath. Something inside him had changed. A small act-a-hug from a stranger had touched his soul deeper than anything else had since his wife's passing. That night, as he tucked Lily into bed, she whispered, "Daddy." The nice lady said, "Mommy is watching me." "Do you think she is?" Ethan smiled faintly and said, "Yes, sweetheart. I think she is." And as he turned off the lights, he realized that he had spent so much time chasing success that he forgot how to simply be a father. That diner visit had reminded him of something priceless, that love could come from the simplest gestures. From people who didn't know you, but still cared. It was a small moment that changed everything, even if he didn't yet understand how much it would mean later. After that day at the diner, something inside Ethan started to change, though he didn't realize it right away. The image of Emma hugging Lily kept returning to his mind like a small light in the dark corners of his thoughts. It was such a simple act, yet it had done what he, a billionaire father, could not do: make his daughter smile again. He remembered how Lily's laughter filled the air as Emma made funny faces while serving pancakes. That sound had been missing in his home for too long. Ethan was used to solving big problems with money, but this time, the solution was something he couldn't buy. The next morning, as he dropped Lily off at school, Ethan noticed something different. She was holding her teddy bear tightly as usual, but her eyes looked brighter. When he leaned down to kiss her goodbye, she whispered, "Can we go to the pancake place again, Daddy?" Her voice was soft but hopeful. Ethan was surprised. Usually, Lily didn't ask for much. She rarely showed excitement for anything since her mother's death. He smiled faintly and said, "We'll see, sweetheart." But deep inside, he already knew he wanted to take her there again, at work. Ethan tried to focus on meetings, numbers, and contracts, but his mind kept wandering back to the diner. He remembered Emma's voice saying, "You don't need to do that. I'm just glad she smiled today." Those words echoed in his head all day. It wasn't about money for her. It was about care. That honesty struck something deep in him. For years, he had lived believing that money could fix anything, until he met someone who showed him it couldn't fix everything. That evening, Ethan went home earlier than usual. His assistant was surprised he never left before dark. When he entered the house, Lily ran to him and hugged his leg. "Daddy, can we read the book Mommy used to read?" she asked. Ethan froze for a moment. That book had been sitting untouched on the shelf since Anna died, but he nodded. They sat on the couch together, and for the first time in months, he read to her. His voice cracked at some parts, but Lily didn't notice. She just smiled, leaning her head on his shoulder. That night, as she fell asleep, Ethan realized he hadn't felt this close to his daughter in a very long time. The next weekend, Tay decided to take Lily back to the same diner. When they walked in, Emma recognized them immediately. "Hey, My little pancake lover." She greeted Lily with a warm smile. Lily giggled and waved. Ethan felt an unexpected sense of happiness watching the two interact. Emma brought them to the same table and asked, "So, extra whipped cream today too?" Lily nodded excitedly. As they ate, Ethan found himself watching Emma carefully. She wasn't like anyone he knew in his business world. There was no rush in her movements, no fake politeness. Every smile she gave was real. She talked kindly to every customer, whether it was an old man eating alone or a family laughing over burgers. She made everyone feel seen. When she walked past, the place somehow felt brighter. Ethan admired that. He had money, power, and fame, yet he didn't have the ability to make people feel that way. After finishing their meal, Ethan reached for his wallet again, and this time, Emma shook her head before he could even take out any cash. "Sir, please, you don't need to leave that much. I'm just happy you both came back." Her tone was gentle but firm. Ethan paused and smiled a little. "You're not used to rich customers, are you?" he asked jokingly. She laughed lightly. "No, not really. But I think kindness shouldn't have a price." Those words stayed with him long after they left the diner. That night, he sat alone in his home office, staring out the window. The city lights twinkled below, but they didn't give him comfort. For years, he had believed that building an empire was what mattered most. Now he wasn't so sure. He thought about how Emma treated Lily like any other child, without fear or formality. She didn't see the billionaire, only a little girl missing her mother. That made him realize something painful. He had built walls so high that even his daughter couldn't reach him anymore. The next morning, Ethan took Lily to the park. He watched her run around, laughing as the wind blew her hair. Other parents were there too, some pushing swings, some sitting on the grass with their kids. Ethan noticed how naturally they connected with their children. He realized how many moments he had missed because he was too busy chasing success. When Lily came running to him, holding a small flower she picked, he lifted her up and smiled for real. "It's beautiful," he said. She smiled back, and in her eyes, he saw a reflection of her mother. Days passed. Ethan couldn't stop thinking about the difference that small moment at the diner had made. He started coming home early more often, taking Lily for walks, helping her with homework. Every time she smiled, he silently thanked the young waitress, who had unknowingly woken something inside him. One afternoon, Ethan stopped by the diner alone after dropping Lily at school. Emma was surprised to see him. "No pancake partner today?" she joked. Ethan smiled and shook his head. "She's at school." "I just wanted to thank you," he said. Emma looked confused. "For what?" He took a deep breath. "For reminding me that my daughter doesn't need a perfect life. She just needs her father." Emma smiled softly. "Kids don't care how big their house is. They care if someone listens when they talk." Ethan nodded slowly. He had learned that lesson the hard way. When he got back to his car, he sat for a moment, feeling a strange sense of peace. For the first time in years, he wasn't thinking about profits or deadlines. He was thinking about pancakes, whipped cream, laughter, and a hug that had started to heal his broken little family. That night, when Lily went to bed, she whispered, "Daddy, I like the lady from the diner. She makes me happy." Ethan smiled, tucking her in. "Me too, sweetheart," he said quietly. He went downstairs, poured himself a glass of water, and sat by the window. His house was silent, but for once it didn't feel empty. He thought about how his wife used to tell him that small acts of kindness could change people's lives. Back then, he never really believed it. Now he understood. He realized Emma hadn't just made Lily smile, she had reminded both of them that love and kindness still existed in the world. That hug had done more than comfort a child. It had touched a father's frozen heart and taught him what truly mattered again as he looked at the stars outside. Ethan promised himself that he would never let his work take away what was most important again. And though he didn't know it yet, that one simple act of kindness from a waitress would soon connect their lives in ways none of them could have imagined. Ethan Cole had never realized how much his daughter Lily had been hurting since her mother passed away. He had been busy running his empire, traveling to meetings, and managing countless decisions, all while believing he was giving Lily everything she could ever need. Expensive toys, lavish clothes, fancy trips, he thought they would fill the void left by her mother's death. But they didn't. Lily was still quiet, still sad, still longing for something she could not name. Ethan had always been emotionally distant, not because he didn't love his daughter, but because he didn't know how to express it. He was a man who believed in numbers, contracts, and schedules, not hugs, tears, or quiet conversations. The day at the diner, when Emma had hugged Lily after she asked for her mother, had changed something in Ethan. It wasn't just the hug. It was the way a stranger could reach his daughter's heart in a way he hadn't been able to. Her kindness and warmth were things money couldn't buy. Watching Lily laugh and smile for the first time in months, even for a few minutes, had been like seeing a light switch back on in a dark room. That memory stayed with him, haunting him in the best way, reminding him of what he had been missing. In the days following that afternoon, Ethan began to notice small things. Lily woke up in the mornings more willingly, and for the first time in months. She spoke about her day at school without hesitation. She seemed lighter, less burdened by the constant sadness that had been her companion since her mother's death. One morning, as Ethan was preparing for another long day at work, Lily tugged on his sleeve. "Daddy," she asked softly, "can we go to the pancake place again?" Her voice was hopeful, innocent, and filled with trust. Ethan paused for a moment, touched by her request. Usually, she didn't ask for much. She had grown quiet, reserved, and guarded. Now her voice was full of expectation and warmth. He smiled and nodded, saying, "We'll go soon, sweetheart." Ethan found himself thinking about that simple visit all the time. The way Emma had knelt beside Lily, wrapped her in her arms, and spoken gently to her, had left an indelible mark on him. She had given Lily comfort, hope, and a sense of being cared for. And Ethan realized that was exactly what his daughter had been longing for all along. He had been so focused on providing material things that he forgot about the power of presence, attention, and genuine human connection. That weekend, Ethan made plans to take Lily back to the diner. He wanted to give her the happiness she had experienced before. When they arrived, however, something felt different. The energy of the diner seemed dimmer, and the familiar table they had sat at before was empty. Ethan asked the new waitress if Emma was working that day. The answer was simple and crushing. Emma had left the diner. Her mother had fallen ill, and she had moved to another city to care for her. Ethan felt a pang of disappointment and sadness, though he couldn't explain why. It wasn't just about missing her presence. It was about the absence of that warmth and compassion in their lives. Lily, sensing the sadness in the atmosphere, asked quietly, "Daddy, where did she go?" Ethan knelt down beside her and explained gently that Emma had to help her mother because she was sick, just like Lily had needed care and comfort when she missed her own mother. Lily's eyes filled with concern, but she nodded, trying to understand. Ethan felt a strange mix of relief and emptiness. He realized that even small connections, even those fleeting encounters with strangers, could leave lasting impressions on children after returning home that day. Ethan reflected on his own behavior over the past year. He thought about all the moments he had missed, the birthdays, the school events, the bedtime stories. He realized that wealth and success could never replace his presence, his attention, or his love. Emma had reminded him of a truth he had buried deep under the weight of business decisions and the pursuit of status. Children don't need everything. They need someone who listens, someone who cares, someone who is there. Ethan began making changes. Small, but meaningful. He started leaving work earlier, making time to have dinner with Lily, and actively participating in her life. They went to the park together, read bedtime stories, and talked about her day at school. He even helped her with simple tasks like tying her shoelaces or packing her school bag. Moments he had never considered important before. Every smile from Lily now felt like a reward, confirmation that he was doing something right. One rainy evening, Ethan found Lily on her bed, looking out the window and holding her teddy bear. She was whispering something, her voice barely audible. When he asked her what she was saying, she replied, "I'm praying for the nice lady and her mommy. I hope they get better." Ethan was moved by her thoughtfulness. He sat beside her and said, "That's very kind of you, Lily. I'm sure your prayer will reach them." It was in moments like these that Ethan realized how much his daughter had grown emotionally. She had learned to express empathy, to care for others even when her own world was difficult. Ethan also noticed that these experiences were changing him. He began to see the world differently. Recognizing the importance of small acts of kindness, compassion, and human connection, he started quietly funding community projects, supporting children's programs, and donating to causes that helped families in need. It wasn't about public recognition or media coverage. It was about giving back in a way that mattered, in a way that mirrored the simple, heartfelt gestures he had witnessed in Emma. During this time, Ethan also started paying attention to how he spoke to Lily. He listened more, interrupted less, and encouraged her to express her feelings. He began noticing the small details, the way she chewed her food, the patterns she drew while coloring, the way her eyes lit up when she discovered something new. Each observation reminded him of how precious these moments were, how fleeting childhood could be, and how crucial it was for a parent to be present. One evening, after Lily had gone to bed, Ethan found himself staring at the city skyline from his large apartment. He thought about Emma and her selfless nature, how a simple act of kindness had set off a chain reaction that was changing his own life. He realized that people like her were rare people who gave without expecting anything in return. People who brought light into the lives of others, even when their own lives were challenging. Ethan knew he had a long way to go. He couldn't undo the months of absence or fully compensate for the grief Lily had endured, but he could do something now. He could be there for her. He could nurture her, and he could show her love in ways that mattered. And even if Emma was far away, her example had left an imprint on both of their hearts. A reminder that genuine care and compassion could heal wounds that money and luxury never could. Over the next several months, Ethan and Lily grew closer than ever. They developed new routines together: Sunday breakfasts, evening walks, and weekend trips to places they had never explored. Ethan even encouraged Lily to write letters to Emma, expressing her gratitude and hope that she was well. Though they never sent the letters, writing them became a ritual that strengthened their bond and reminded Ethan of the importance of empathy and connection. Ethan reflected often on how much he had changed. He had always been a man of logic, numbers, and control, but now he understood that love, care, and human kindness were just as important, if not more. He realized that success wasn't just measured in wealth or achievements, but in the quality of relationships, in the moments shared, in the joy one could bring to others. Emma had unknowingly taught him this, and he carried that lesson into every interaction with Lily and the world around him, in the quiet of his home. Ethan often thought about what he would have done differently if he had met Emma earlier. Perhaps he would have been a better father from the start. Perhaps Lily wouldn't have been so sad for so long. But he knew that regret was not productive. What mattered now was the present, the actions he was taking, and the way he could continue to build a relationship with Lily founded on love, attention, and care. Through all of this, Ethan realized something profound. Happiness and fulfillment didn't come from wealth alone. They came from meaningful connections, from being present for the people you love, and from small gestures that could create ripple effects far beyond imagination. He had seen this in Emma's hug, in Lily's smile, and in the quiet moments they now shared together. It was a lesson that would stay with him for life, shaping not only how he raised his daughter, but how he interacted with the world, even on the hardest days. When work pressures mounted and old habits threatened to take over, Ethan reminded himself of that simple afternoon in the diner. He reminded himself that real change wasn't about grand gestures. It was about consistency, patience, and genuine care. Emma had sparked the transformation, but it was up to him to continue it. And he was determined to do so for Lily, for himself, and for the chance to honor the memory of the woman they both loved so dearly. By the end of the year, Lily was a noticeably happier child. She laughed more freely, hugged her father without hesitation, and occasionally shared stories about her imaginary adventures with Emma, always mentioning how kind she had been. Ethan, in turn, felt a profound sense of fulfillment, knowing that he was finally becoming the father Lily deserved. He had learned that even one small act of kindness could set off a chain reaction, transforming hearts and lives in ways he never could have imagined. And though Emma was far away, her influence remained present in their lives. Ethan knew that life had a way of bringing people together at the right moment, and he silently hoped that someday they would meet again. But until then, he carried her lessons in his heart, practicing the kindness, attention, and love that she had shown, ensuring that Lily never felt alone or unloved again. Months passed since that unforgettable afternoon at the diner, and life for Ethan and Lily had started to feel more complete. Lily's laughter now filled the house, a sound that had been missing for so long. And Ethan had learned to be present in ways he never thought possible. Yet, despite the progress, both of them carried a quiet curiosity and longing in their hearts. Ethan often wondered how Emma was doing. Did she manage to care for her sick mother? Was she happy? Could they ever meet her again? Little did they know, fate was about to bring an unexpected reunion that would change their lives forever. It was a chilly autumn evening when Ethan received an invitation to a charity gala. The event was organized to support single mothers and caregivers, a cause that resonated deeply with him after watching the impact Emma had on Lily's life. He wasn't particularly fond of social gatherings, preferring the quiet of his office or home. But he agreed to attend, bringing Lily along. The ballroom was filled with influential people, all dressed elegantly and chatting about donations, sponsorships, and social initiatives. Ethan moved through the crowd with polite nods and occasional smiles, feeling slightly out of place in the glittering room. During the speeches, Ethan noticed one in particular that caught his attention. A young woman stood at the podium, her voice steady yet warm, speaking about the struggles of balancing life and work while caring for a sick parent. She spoke with such passion, honesty, and emotion that Ethan felt a pull in his chest. Something about her presence, the sincerity in her tone, and the light in her eyes felt familiar. He leaned closer to hear more. As she continued describing the hardships and small victories of caregiving, Ethan's mind raced. The way she spoke, the gestures she made, it all felt like someone he had met before, someone whose kindness had left a mark on his life. When the speech ended, the audience applauded warmly. Ethan didn't wait for the formalities. He quietly made his way through the crowd, scanning the faces until he saw her Amma. She was standing by the side, speaking to a few attendees about her foundation for supporting families in need. Ethan's heart raced. She looked exactly the same, yet somehow more confident and radiant. He approached her cautiously, unsure if she would remember him or recognize the importance of their previous encounter. "Emma," he said softly. She turned, and for a moment their eyes met. Recognition flickered across her face, followed by a warm, genuine smile. "Mr. Cole, Ethan," she said, her voice tinged with surprise. He nodded. "Yes, it's me. I wanted to thank you," he began, struggling to find the right words. Emma looked curious, attentive, waiting for him to continue. "I wanted to thank you. Not just for the way you treated my daughter that day at the diner," he said, his voice slightly wavering, "but for the way you reminded me what it means to be a father. To truly care for someone." Emma's eyes softened, and a quiet understanding passed between them. She remembered the little girl with the teddy bear, the shy smile, the words that had melted Ethan's heart. At that moment, Lily ran up to him, her eyes wide with excitement. "Emma," she exclaimed, throwing herself into her arms. Emma knelt down and hugged Lily tightly, whispering softly, "I've missed you, sweet girl. You've grown so much." Lily giggled, burying her face in Emma's shoulder. Ethan watched the scene quietly, feeling a mix of awe, relief, and gratitude. This reunion was more than he had imagined. It wasn't just a meeting. It was a confirmation that some people enter your life for a reason, leaving impressions that last far longer than expected. They spent the evening together, sharing stories and laughter. Emma told them about the past months, how she had moved to care for her sick mother, the challenges she faced, and the small victories that made the struggle worthwhile. Ethan listened intently, moved by her selflessness and resilience. He realized that Emma's kindness had not diminished with distance. If anything, it had grown stronger. The way she had devoted herself to helping others mirrored the compassion she had shown his daughter. As the night progressed, Ethan found an opportunity to speak with Emma privately. He told her how her simple act of hugging Lily had changed his life, how it had awakened him to the importance of presence and emotional connection. He spoke about the small steps he had taken to become a better father, spending more time with Lily, listening to her, prioritizing her happiness over work. Emma listened quietly, her eyes reflecting pride, warmth, and a deep understanding of what had transpired. Ethan then made an offer that surprised both Emma and himself. "I want to help support your foundation," he said. "Not because I have to, but because I want to. You've changed my life and my daughter's life, and I want to help you continue the work you're doing."
Emma's
Eyes widened in disbelief. She had never expected such a gesture, especially from a billionaire who could have easily ignored her. Yet she saw the sincerity in his voice. "Thank you, Ethan," she said softly. "But you've already done more than you know. You've been there for your daughter, and that's the most important thing." Lily, watching the interaction, tugged on Ethan's sleeve. "Daddy," she whispered, "can we do this every weekend? Can we help people together?" Ethan smiled, realizing that his daughter was learning the same lesson he had, that kindness, compassion, and love were actions to be shared, not just feelings to be kept inside. He nodded. "Yes, sweetheart. We can do this together." The night ended with promises of future collaboration and visits. Ethan felt a deep sense of peace, knowing that Emma's influence had not only healed his daughter, but had transformed him as a father. He had learned that sometimes strangers come into your life for a reason, teaching lessons that money, power, and control never could. Over the following weeks, Ethan and Emma's paths intertwined more. They worked together on the foundation, visiting families, helping children, and witnessing firsthand the difference a little care and attention could make. Lily joined them on many occasions, watching her father and Emma collaborate with joy and excitement. She had found a role model in Emma, someone who was kind, strong, and capable of spreading love even in difficult circumstances. Ethan realized that this experience had not only strengthened his bond with Lily, but had also introduced him to a new way of living. He began to see the value in small gestures, in listening, in being present, and in giving without expecting anything in return. Emma had shown him that life was not about wealth or control, but about the connections you make, the love you give, and the impact you leave on the people around you. The reunion at the charity gala became a turning point in all their lives. Lily's joy was now more constant, her laughter louder, and her curiosity about the world greater than ever. Ethan, once a man of cold efficiency, had transformed into a father who could finally understand and nurture his daughter's emotional world. And Emma, whose simple hug had sparked this change, continued to influence their lives, not as a distant memory, but as a living presence of kindness, compassion, and inspiration. That night, as Ethan tucked Lily into bed, she whispered, "I'm glad we found her again. Daddy, she makes me happy." Ethan kissed her forehead, smiling quietly. "Me too, sweetheart. Me too." He realized that life had a way of bringing the right people into your path at exactly the right time. Emma had been that person, the one who reminded them both of the power of love, the importance of presence, and the beauty of selfless care. For Ethan, the reunion was not just about meeting Emma again. It was about witnessing the ripple effect of kindness and understanding. It showed him that the world was full of people willing to help, teach, and heal, if only one opened their heart to receive it. He had learned a lesson that would stay with him forever. True wealth was not measured in money or success, but in the love you give, the lives you touch, and the hearts you nurture. Through Emma's example, Ethan understood that life's most meaningful moments often come unexpectedly. They are quiet, simple gestures that seem small at first but carry immense power. One hug at a diner had set off a chain of events that transformed a father, a daughter, and even a stranger into a family bound not by blood, but by love, gratitude, and shared experiences. It was a lesson in humanity that neither time nor distance could erase. And so, as the city lights shimmered outside Ethan's window, he felt a renewed sense of purpose. He knew that life would continue to present challenges, but he also knew that with love, attention, and kindness, any challenge could be met. Emma had reminded them all of that truth, and in doing so, had changed the course of their lives forever. Months after that unforgettable reunion at the charity gala, life had started to take on a new rhythm for Ethan, Lily, and Emma. What had begun as a simple act of kindness, a hug in a small diner, had grown into something far greater. Ethan had become a more present father, spending genuine time with Lily, listening to her, laughing with her, and making decisions that prioritized her happiness over business. Lily, once a quiet, lonely child, had blossomed into a bright, cheerful girl whose laughter filled the house. And Emma, whose simple compassion had sparked this transformation, became a constant presence in their lives, not just as a friend, but as a guiding force of warmth and care. It all began with small gestures that gradually became habits. Ethan had made a promise to himself the day he first hugged Lily at bedtime after the diner incident. He would never again let work consume him to the point that he missed the important moments in her life. He began waking up earlier so he could prepare breakfast for her, help her get ready for school, and walk her there himself. The simple routine gave both of them time to connect in ways they had never done before. He found himself listening carefully to every detail of her day, the new friends she made, the stories her teachers told, and even the smallest worries she carried. Every word mattered because he realized that these moments were shaping the person she would become. Meanwhile, Emma's foundation had grown steadily. She had started it quietly, aiming to provide support for families caring for sick loved ones, single parents, and children in need of guidance and emotional support. She never imagined her life would intersect with Ethan Cole, yet their paths had crossed at the perfect moment. After seeing the positive impact Emma had on Lily, Ethan became one of her strongest supporters, not just financially, but personally. He offered resources for her programs, helped organize events, and volunteered alongside her whenever possible. Though he initially hesitated, worried about public attention, he realized that nothing in the world was more important than helping someone who had touched his life in such a meaningful way. One weekend, Ethan brought Lily to visit Emma at her foundation's headquarters. Lily's eyes widened at the vibrant space filled with colorful artwork, books, and children's laughter. Emma greeted them both warmly. "Hey, my little sunshine," she said to Lily, kneeling down to hug her. Lily giggled and wrapped her arms around Emma. Ethan watched silently, amazed at how natural and effortless Emma's kindness was. The bond between Emma and Lily had grown strong, one built on trust, warmth, and genuine affection. That day, they spent hours volunteering together. Lily helped hand out books to children, while Ethan assisted Emma with organizing the materials. Even though he was used to running a corporation, he found joy in these simple tasks. Watching Lily interact with other children, showing them kindness, and learning empathy through her actions made Ethan feel pride and gratitude he had never experienced before. He realized that life's most meaningful moments often came not from grand gestures, but from small, consistent acts of love and care. As the months progressed, Ethan, Lily, and Emma began attending events and programs together. They would visit hospitals, schools, and shelters, always bringing warmth and support wherever they went. Lily, inspired by Emma's compassion, started to understand the importance of empathy and kindness firsthand. She learned that helping others could be joyful, fulfilling, and meaningful, and she took every opportunity to contribute, no matter how small. Ethan, in turn, found a renewed purpose in these experiences. His world, once limited to business meetings and boardrooms, had expanded to include acts of love, gratitude, and service. One evening, after a long day of volunteering at a children's hospital, Ethan, Lily, and Emma sat together quietly. Enjoying a simple dinner at home, Lily, exhausted but happy, leaned against her father and said, "Daddy, I like helping people with Emma. She's kind, and she makes me happy. Can we do this forever?" Ethan smiled, brushing her hair back gently. "Yes, sweetheart. We can do this for as long as we want. Helping others and spreading kindness will always make us feel better, too." Emma joined them, her eyes filled with warmth and pride. She had seen the transformation in both Ethan and Lily, and it made her heart swell with joy. The weeks turned into months, and Ethan began to notice changes in himself he hadn't anticipated. He was more patient, more attentive, and more emotionally open. He found that helping Emma with her foundation and witnessing the joy it brought to children and families gave him a new perspective on life. Business deals and wealth no longer defined his happiness. Instead, it was measured in the smiles, laughter, and love that surrounded him. He had learned that true fulfillment came from connection, compassion, and the ability to positively impact the lives of others. Lily, too, had grown tremendously. Her confidence blossomed, and her sadness from missing her mother had lessened. She still thought of her mom often, of course, but she had learned that love existed in many forms, and that it could be found in people who cared for her deeply. Emma became a kind of mentor, showing Lily that strength, empathy, and courage could coexist beautifully. Ethan was proud to see his daughter embrace these values, realizing that she was becoming a compassionate, thoughtful young girl because of the love and guidance she received. One day, as they were leaving a community event, Lily tugged on Ethan's sleeve and whispered, "Daddy, I want to thank the nice lady for everything she's done. Can we hug her again?" Ethan smiled. He realized that for Lily, Emma was not just a friend. She was a symbol of love, kindness, and stability. He nodded, and together they embraced Emma warmly. It was a simple moment, but it was full of gratitude, healing, and joy. Over time, Ethan, Lily, and Emma formed a kind of family unit, bound not by blood, but by love, care, and shared experiences. Ethan learned that life could offer second chances in unexpected ways. He had spent so much time building walls around himself, believing that power and money were enough. Yet, through Emma's kindness, he learned that true wealth lay in relationships, love, and emotional presence. Lily had taught him to be a father again. Emma had reminded him that genuine acts of compassion could ripple across lives in ways he never imagined. Eventually, Ethan became a consistent supporter of Emma's foundation. He didn't just provide money, he actively participated in events, offered mentorship, and helped expand the programs to reach more children and families. His involvement was no longer about public recognition. It was about honoring the impact Emma had made on his life and the lives of his daughter and countless others. He discovered a sense of purpose and fulfillment that far exceeded any business accomplishment he had achieved before. The relationship between Ethan, Lily, and Emma continued to deepen. They celebrated birthdays together, shared holidays, and created traditions that were full of warmth and joy. Lily often reminded Ethan of how fortunate they were to have found someone like Emma, whose presence had transformed their lives. He nodded silently, knowing that her role in their lives went far beyond a friend or mentor. She had become a guiding light, a bridge to happiness and emotional healing. Through these experiences, Ethan came to understand the profound truth that love and kindness were not limited by wealth, status, or circumstance. Emma had shown him that one simple act, a hug to a grieving child, could create a ripple effect powerful enough to change the lives of multiple people. He had witnessed firsthand how compassion could transform sadness into joy, distance into connection, and emptiness into fulfillment. As the years passed, Ethan maintained a balance between his business life and his personal life. He no longer allowed work to consume him, recognizing that the moments he spent with Lily and Emma were far more valuable than any deal or contract. Lily grew into a confident, happy child, surrounded by love and guided by the lessons she had learned from both her father and Emma. Ethan, once a man defined by ambition and wealth, had transformed into a father capable of love, empathy, and patience. One quiet evening, after tucking Lily into bed, Ethan reflected on how far they had come. "Daddy," Lily whispered, "I'm glad we found Emma. She makes me feel happy and safe." Ethan smiled and kissed her forehead. "Me too, sweetheart. Me too." He realized that sometimes life brings the right people into our paths at exactly the right time. It's changing everything in ways we could never anticipate. Emma had been that person for them, a stranger turned friend, mentor, and family, whose simple kindness had sparked a profound transformation. In the end, Ethan understood that true happiness and fulfillment were not measured in wealth, power, or status. They were measured in love, connection, and the ability to impact the lives of others positively. Through Emma's example and his own dedication as a father, he had learned to prioritize what truly mattered. Lily had regained her childhood joy. He had rediscovered his capacity to love, and together, they had built a life full of warmth, compassion, and hope. The story of a hug in a small diner had grown into a tale of transformation, healing, and the power of human kindness. It was a reminder that even in the darkest times, one simple act could ignite change, bridge hearts, and create lasting bonds. For Ethan, Lily, and Emma, life had become richer, not because of wealth, but because of love, the love that connected them, nurtured them, and reminded them of what it truly meant to be human. And so, their lives continued, intertwined by gratitude, compassion, and the lessons learned from one unforgettable afternoon. The hug that had sparked it all remained a memory, a symbol of the profound truth that small gestures, when done with genuine care, could change the course of lives forever.